Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Rose Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. We finally know where LeBron James' son is going to be playing college basketball. Bronny James has decided to commit to the USC Trojans. I'm going to go over whether I think that this makes USC the potential favorite in the Pac-12 conference for next season, and whether I think Bronny James could potentially help USC be a national title contender in 2023-2024. Now, LeBron James' son, Bronny James, is a really talented player. That is for sure. He is definitely not a guy that is just good because of his father's name. He is actually a good basketball player. Now, is he as good as his dad? Of course not, because LeBron James, he was King James after all in high school. He came right out of high school, skipped college back when you could, and went to the pros. And he was a 6'8", 260-pound beast coming out of high school. He was fantastic, and he was a generational talent. His son, Bronny James, however, is a really solid player. He's 6'3", 180 pounds. He dunked in the 8th grade, and he's got really good athleticism. He's not one of the most explosive guards in the world, but he is a guy that can go off the dribble, get all the way to the rim, take contact, dunk the ball, and he is improving at shooting threes. He's not the greatest three-point shooter. He's not a sniper, but he still is a good three-point shooter. Nonetheless, he averaged around 14 points per game this past season in a really tough circuit in the high school game, so he is not an overrated player by any means. Maybe he shouldn't have been bumped to a 5-star according to some of the services that moved him up to a 5-star recently. He's definitely a 4-star player, and I think he does have the potential talent to showcase himself as a legitimate 5-star prospect, but that's why some services kept him as a 4-star, because there are flaws in his game. He's not the greatest three-point shooter in the world. He's not the greatest athlete in the world, but he is a guy that, despite the fact that he is a fantastic player's son, he still is a good player overall. I think that he has more upside than Scottie Pippen's son, Scottie Pippen Jr., and I think that he has more potential than Michael Jordan's son, Jeffrey Jordan. I think he is a good player. I really feel like Bronny James could be successful in the NBA, which LeBron James is hoping so, because he wants to play with his son, and I don't blame him. But it's really interesting to see who Bronny James was down to. Ohio State, Oregon, and USC were his 3 finals. NIL Titans in the college sports game. Ohio State basketball, they've got a lot of NIL, and they had that pull because of the fact LeBron James is from the state of Ohio, and I think that was a big connection there. Oregon, Phil Knight, and Nike at Oregon, they definitely have a big pull there, but he's decided to stay on the USC. It's LA. What more could you ask for there? Los Angeles, you've got a big pull there, and you're going to be right next to your dad. I think that NIL and the fact that he could play near his dad is a big reason why he did commit to USC, and I think it could help Bronny James' confidence knowing that his dad will more than likely be able to see some of his games every now and then if he has the time to take off during the NBA season, but we're going to have to see there. But besides all that, I really do feel like Bronny James will be able to make an impact for USC next season, but will USC be a legitimate national title contender? I'm not 100% sure. I think the potential's there because they do have a really talented team. They are losing Reese Dixon Waters. He transferred to San Diego State, and Trey White, he's transferred to Louisville. Both those are tough losses, but what USC has returning, Boogie Ellis is back, and the fact that Bronny James will be able to come in and not have to be the guy right off the bat is huge, because Boogie Ellis, who transferred in from Memphis a few years ago, he is a guy that has a lot of talent, and I think Boogie Ellis could be the best guard in the Pac-12 next season with the experience that he has. Maybe one of the freshmen for USC or some other team plays at a higher level, but Boogie Ellis probably will be the guy that averages most points per game if he continues to play at the level that he played this past season for the Trojans. He's a really good player. He can shoot anywhere on the floor, and he is also a great passer. So I think him and Bronny James will be able to play next to each other for sure. Kobe Johnson's back. He is a solid player. And Joshua Morgan and Vincent Owuchukwu, they are both back in the front court. Joshua Morgan was a guy that was improving as the season has gone along. But the big key as well for USC is they're not just bringing in Bronny James. Oh no, they've got Arrington Page, a 4-star power forward as well. He's a talented player. And Isaiah Collier, a 5-star recruit. Some people who think he's the best player in the high school recruiting class of 2023, he's committed to USC as well, and he is a guard. So USC could have one of the best starting guard rotations in the country with Bronny James, Boogie Ellis, and also Isaiah Collier. That is a dangerous and loaded backcourt. Granted, we're going to have to see how good Bronny James and Isaiah Collier adjust to the college game next to Boogie Ellis. But if they all play at a high level, level, then USC's backcourt will be very dangerous. Joshua Morgan is a really solid front court player, and Kobe Johnson as well. I really like USC's roster. But the key for USC next season is not to let Bronny James become a distraction. As long as the rest of the roster keeps playing at a high level, and the publicity of not having Bronny James on USC's team next year is not too much. I think USC could have a great season next year, but sometimes if you have a player of the name recognition and caliber of Bronny James with a dad like LeBron James that is an incredible basketball player and still lighting it up in the NBA at the age of 38, could be an issue. And sometimes it can cause a distraction, and sometimes the other players can struggle because everything just does not mesh together. But I do think that as long as that doesn't happen, and I really do feel like LeBron James is going to make sure that that doesn't occur, and I think that Bronny James, he's definitely a guy that I think will be able to adjust to playing with really solid players around him at USC, because he's going to have to, because when you go from the high school game to the pros, a lot of players have that problem where they know that they're the best player on their high school team, but then they go to college and they're no longer the best player on the floor. He's going to have Isaiah Collier around him, and he's going to have Boogie Ellis, some really talented guards in the backcourt. Bronny James is going to have to find a way to mesh around those other players, and if he can, and there's no distraction at all of Bronny James being on the team, then I feel like USC could really compete in the Pac-12 next season. Arizona, they've got a really good looking team as well. UCLA is always there. Maybe they might take a bit of a step back this season. Who knows? Those three probably will be the top teams in the Pac-12 next season. But looking at USC, I really like what they've done in this offseason. They've really gotten some talented players into the program. And Andy Enfield, he's the guy that's brought all this together. Yes, he's got a great NIL operation at USC, and yes, USC is in Los Angeles. What bigger recruiting pool do you have than that? But Andy Enfield's done a really good job with the USC program, because they weren't as good before he got there. After he came over from Florida Gulf Coast in that Sweet 16 run, he's been USC's coach for the past decade, but he hasn't had a lot of tournament success, and they've always been playing second fiddle to UCLA and Arizona in the Pac-12, so maybe that won't happen any longer. I feel like Andy Enfield, yes, he's had some talented players in the past. Looking at players like Evan Mobley, and he's had so many other guys as well that were five-star recruits and really talented, but this year's team might be the most talented yet, because you've got Boogie Ellis coming back, one of the most experienced guards in college basketball. You've got a great three-man recruiting class of Arrington Page, Isaiah Collier, and Bronny James. And Bronny James probably won't even be the guy that has the biggest role for USC next season. It'll probably be Isaiah Collier, but who knows? Maybe Bronny James will go out there and light it up, be the best freshman in this recruiting class for USC. That could be the case. But if USC is going to be a legitimate Pac-12 title contender and potential national title contender, Bronny James not being the best freshman would probably be the best thing for USC, because if Isaiah Collier's lining up Boogie Ellis, and then you've got Bronny James, who's the third best guard but still playing at a high level, and Isaiah Collier and Bronny James probably will only be one-year players if they do play well, it will be tough for USC to lose all that talent the next season, but it will be a good look for the program getting these guys to the pros. LeBron James, he's awaiting Bronny to be able to go to the NBA, but it's going to be very interesting. I really think that USC could be a dangerous team next season. They are certainly one of the most talented, and they are bringing in some really talented players. LA sells itself. NIL, they've got a great operation. They've got a good fan base. USC, yes, they're a football school, but they're trying to support their basketball team as well to be able to compete with UCLA and Arizona in the Pac-12, and bringing in Bronny James, it is definitely a big deal for sure. As long as it's not a distraction, I think this is a huge addition for the USC program, being able to get him over Ohio State and Oregon that also had some big pulls as well to be able to bring him in, especially Ohio State, with it being LeBron James' home state. But still, USC, he'll be near his dad. I think that will definitely help Bronny James be able to have that comfort level going over to the college game, knowing that his dad is not that far away. I think the connection will be there for sure. If he could settle in next to his teammates at a high level next year, USC should be a great team in college basketball next year. They should definitely be toward the top of the Pac-12, and as long as Bronny James adjusts well to the college game, plays at a high level next year with the rest of his teammates, and USC has a really talented roster for next year, then the Trojans could be a fantastic team in college basketball next season. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Bronny James committing to the USC Trojans over the Oregon Ducks and the Ohio State Buckeyes, and whether you think with Bronny James USC can compete for a Pac-12 title and national title next season. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.